Good evening, everyone. I'm Ankit, and you're watching the Indian Express analysis, which goes live every day at 4 p.m. on StudyIQ IS English channel. Today is 15th of April, and we are going to discuss important news and articles that have appeared in our today's newspaper. Now, if you look at the first article of the day, we are going to discuss about the Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary. And why is Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary in news? Because the government of India is trying to relocate some of the tigers from Kuno National Park, located in Madhya Pradesh, to Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary, and these are cheetahs who have been originally brought from African countries. Now you understand, originally cheetah were present in India, but in 1952 they got extinct. So India had only one option, that is, if it needed to have cheetahs in its own protected areas, it needed to bring them from other countries. So India has done so. Now it is looking to relocate them, at least some of them, to Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary. So in that regard, we are going to discuss important facts relating to the article, and also we are going to cover some details about this particular protected area that is located in Madhya Pradesh. Now, any protected area is relevant from GS paper 3 perspective, especially the environmental part of the syllabus. In the second article, we'll be understanding about Sir Shankran Nair, because this article actually appeared in the explain section, and it talks about a lawyer in the British India period who had actually fought people belonging to the colonial government. Now, he also was the president of Indian National Congress, so that is why his contribution in social reforms, in highlighting the plight of Indians under a colonial rule, that becomes very important. So therefore, articles on Sir Shankran Nair becomes important from modern history point of view, that is relevant from GS paper 1 perspective. In the third article, the article that we are going to deal with yesterday, but because of paucity of time we were unable to, will be understanding about Iran-US nuclear talks, because recently both members of the Iranian government as well as the representative of the President of the United States, they have been engaged in an indirect talks over whether or not Iran should pause its nuclear program in exchange of relaxation of economic sanctions by the United States and other Western countries. So we are going to understand the reasons behind which why both countries are wanting to have this kind of a nuclear deal. Earlier, both of these countries had a very rigid and entrenched position, which did not allow for such kind of a nuclear talks and eventually the deal to happen. But what has changed in recent times? We are going to understand this. You understand, such a move which is relating to a country located very near to our neighborhood and also a very big superpower of the world, it can have implications on India. So we are going to understand even that. Therefore, this topic is relevant from GS paper 2 perspective, particularly the portion of international relations. In the fourth article, we'll be understanding about a species in news, that is Nilgiri Tahr. Now, Kerala and Tamil Nadu, they are going to estimate the population of Nilgiri Tahr, which is endemic to Western Ghats and also in southern part of the country. So, this species in news eventually becomes important from our exams perspective, particularly prelims examination. So, we are going to understand in detail about the species, which is again relevant from GS paper 3 perspective, because any species in news, we have to understand three parts of those species, that is habits, habitats, as well as protection status. So these are the grounds which we'll cover in our today's discussion. Then in the fifth article, we'll be understanding some facts about an Eastern European country known as Slovakia. And why are we dealing about Slovakia? Because President of India recently was on an official visit to Slovakia. So naturally, this place in news becomes important from our exams perspective. And the last article, if the time allows, we're going to discuss about European Space Agency's Biomass mission. So what is Biomass mission? It is essentially a satellite which will be sent into outer space by the European Space Agency to estimate the elements of biomass on Earth. And why do we need to estimate the presence of biomass? That I'll tell you in our today's discussion. This again becomes important from GS paper 3 perspective, both from science and tech perspective and also from environmental perspective, right? So these are the 6 articles that we are going to discuss in our today's discussion. And you understand, the notes for this session as usual will be available on my Telegram channel. You have an option to search ATS Live on the top right hand corner of your app. And alternatively, still if you're not able to find it, please do scan the QR code. Definitely you'll find the channel, and do not forget to subscribe it. Also, the viewers, please do, it's a very honest request from my side, please do not forget to give us a thumbs up, as your just a mere giving us a thumbs up keeps us motivated to keep these sessions going on a daily basis. Also, let us start our today's discussion with this article. For the first, Suraj, Sarang, Augustine, Baga, good evening everyone. So all those who are watching in recent times until the prelims, that is about 40 days from now, we are going to emphasize more on prelims related discussions, because students who are watching this and eventually who are going to appear in this year's prelims, I do not want you to miss any of the important articles. The probability of articles appearing 1 month before the exam and them appearing in the exam is also quite high. So do not think about the fact that paper to set ho gaya hoga, I'll just ignore these news. No, you are required to read the news as long as possible and as long as your preparation allows you to. So my honest request from my side is to continue watching these sessions, and even if you're not watching these sessions, just make it a point of downloading the notes, go through them quickly and note down important points in your copy. Also, going forward, many of you were asking how to compile the notes, because I understand compiling 50 pages of slides every day can be quite tough. So my recommendation for you on that regard is to maintain a separate copy and make sure to jot down every important point given in a particular day session. Just jot down them in one page, not more than one page. So essentially in a month you'll have 25-26 pages of notes which you can revise easily in a matter of 2 to 3 hours, right? So this is the way you approach current affairs. Watch these sessions, download the notes and scribble down important points in your copy. Just complete those points in just one page. Just remember that, okay? Now this is the first article that we are going to discuss. This article appeared in the very front page of the Indian Express newspaper, and it talks about that a panel has given a nod to shift cheetahs from Kuno Park to Gandhi Sagar. Now you have to understand the shifting of cheetahs from Kuno to Gandhi Sagar is not a complete shifting. Just a few amount of cheetahs will be relocated to another location so that this allows the cheetahs to have a newer population set up in another protected area in Madhya Pradesh. So this is the article. Now the context of this article is that for over a year now, Madhya Pradesh government, particularly its forest department, has been preparing for introduction of cheetahs in the Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary. Now you understand, cheetahs in general, they were native to India, but for some reason they got extinct in 1952. So India actually had to bring these cheetahs, especially the African cheetahs, from the African nations like Botswana, like Kenya, like Namibia, like South Africa, and relocate them into protected areas in India. Initially, they were introduced in a protected area known as Kuno National Park, and this was done by the Project Cheetah, which is formed under the National Tiger Conservation Authority. Especially, there is a separate committee which overlooks the introduction and well-being of cheetahs, that is Cheetah Project Steering Committee. What is Cheetah Project Steering Committee? Do not worry, I'll tell you in our today's discussion. And from our discussions perspective, what becomes important first is this Cheetah Project Steering Committee, and another one is the Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary, right? So what is the challenge? Why is actually relocation of cheetahs just from one protected area to another protected area in same state? Why is it taking so much time? We are going to understand this in great detail, right? Now, what you have to understand that originally this Asiatic cheetah species were present in India, but they got extinct in 1952. So currently, before they were reintroduced back in India, Asiatic species of cheetah, they were present only in just one country, that is in Iran. That is, Iran had only 12 number of Asiatic cheetahs, which include 9 males and 3 females. So if India were to reintroduce Asiatic cheetah in its own location, naturally it had to source this cheetahs from Iran. But since Iran had such a small number of cheetah species in them, so they actually said no. So now the another alternative for India to reintroduce cheetah became African cheetahs, because African cheetahs are relatively large in number and they are present in different parts of Africa, across Africa from northwest to east to southern Africa. Now in terms of differences in the size, you understand African cheetah slightly bigger in size as compared to Asiatic cheetah. They have sturdier legs and neck, whereas Asiatic cheetahs are somewhat slender, means thin. Similarly, the skin pattern also is different. The African cheetah has light brown to golden brown fur, which is thicker than Asiatic ones, whereas Asiatic ones have more fur in their underbelly and below their neck. Also, their protection status is quite different, because you understand Asiatic cheetah are just 12 in number, so have the highest protection status as per the IUCN Red List, that is, they are categorized as critically endangered. Whereas African cheetah also are somewhat risky when it comes to their life, but still they are categorized as vulnerable because of their larger number in comparison to Asiatic cheetah. So India actually reintroduced African cheetahs into Kuno National Park. So please remember this. Now the process of bringing these cheetahs into India, and also to allow any of the protected areas to have certain conditions, this responsibility was given to Cheetah Project Steering Committee, which functions under the National Tiger Conservation Authority, right? So please do not make a mistake. This actually functions under National Tiger Conservation Authority. Now this body is responsible for review and monitor of the project, that is reintroduction of cheetahs in India, and also act as an advisory body on how the forest department of a particular state should tweak the particular protected area so as to allow the population of cheetahs to grow in that particular protected area. Also, this project Cheetah, it was kickstarted in 2022 with translocation of 8 cheetahs from a country called as Namibia and 12 cheetahs from South Africa to Kuno National Park in Madhya Pradesh. Now, this project, although has faced certain setbacks with deaths of 8 of these cheetahs and 5 cubs, however, still the population of cheetahs in Kuno National Park is 27. That means 18 cheetahs are in the wild, whereas 9 cheetah are in a protected enclosure within the national park. So the current population of cheetahs in Kuno National Park stands at 27. So you understand, some of the cheetahs, that is 20 cheetahs, were brought from African countries, and naturally they gave birth to newer cheetahs or cubs of cheetahs. Some of them died, but others also survived. So naturally the population has grown from 20 to 27. Now you understand, it makes a very good ecological sense for you to diversify the population of any species that might be endangered, right? Because you don't want to keep all your eggs in one basket. So what you do is you divide the eggs in different baskets. Similarly, government is also wanting to relocate these cheetahs from Kuno National Park to other protected areas so as to keep them in different protected areas. God forbid if something unnatural happens in a particular protected area, right? So as to protect those species, we need to keep them in different protected areas. Therefore, the search for newer locations started, and then government zeroed in on another protected area, that is Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary in Madhya Pradesh itself, which has been earmarked as an important link for long-term conservation of cheetahs. Now the aim of the government is to establish a meta population of about 60 to 70 cheetahs across Kuno Gandhi Sagar landscape, which is spread across Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. So naturally you can understand, government wants to have a larger population of cheetahs, and you can't keep such a large population of cheetahs in just one national park, because naturally those national park will have a limit of how can feed or how much animals it can provide to cheetahs as a food. So naturally, to reduce the load or ecological load on a particular park, you need to diversify the population. Now the decision to relocate cheetahs to Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary comes at a point when there are concerns about the availability of adequate prey. So you understand, cheetahs to grow, they need food, and what is the food of cheetahs? Other wild animals. Similarly, the presence of other predators in the same wildlife sanctuary or in the national park like leopards also pose a different challenge, because these predators also eat on the same food that cheetahs consume. So naturally they will compete among themselves to secure the prey, and that is why it can lead to conflicts between these two species of animals. So that is why the chances of a conflict between other predators and cheetahs, and also the availability of the food, is two big concerns that the authorities needs to address before they relocate cheetahs into another protected area, right? Now let us understand some of the details quickly regarding about Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary. Now Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary is situated on the northern boundaries of Madhya Pradesh, that is in districts of Mandsaur and Neemuch. Now important river, that is Chambal river, it passes through the sanctuary. That is why it drains this sanctuary and divides it into two parts. So from the map you can see this is located in the northern part of the Madhya Pradesh alongside the border of Rajasthan, that is in Mandsaur and Neemuch district. Also, what you have to understand regarding to any protected area is its flora and fauna. Let's talk about flora first. Now the forest that is in the between of Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary, it has a mix of dry deciduous forest as well as riverine evergreen patches. Now the principal tree species that are found in this protected area are khair, salai, khardhai, dwada, tendu, palash. So you understand, cheetahs need a large form of grassland which is provided by this deciduous forest, right? Also now talk about Fauna. Fauna is probably more important when it comes to cheetahs or other predators, because naturally these predators need food, and what are the food of cheetahs and leopards? These are these wildlife animals. So the amount of fauna that is present in wildlife sanctuary is deer, also known as chinkara in India, which is the Hindi name for Indian gazelle. Similarly, nilgai, sambar, cheetal, wild pig, peafowl, Indian leopard, langur, Indian wild dogs. These are other species that are present in terms of fauna when it comes to Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary. Also, it has other predators like mugger, crocodile, etc. Right. So, what is important from cheetah's perspective is chinkara, nilgai, cheetal, and also a Chausinga, right? So these are the fauna that cheetah usually preys on. So the presence of these fauna, especially chinkara, nilgai, cheetal, which I have highlighted, becomes important for the existence of any predator, especially leopard. Now, I told you the problem that the government authorities was facing regarding the competition from other predators, particularly leopards, and second is the availability of prey. Now, in the first phase of reintroduction of cheetahs into other wildlife sanctuaries, the plan is to release 4 to 5 cheetahs into a fenced area in the western part of sanctuary, that is Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary. Now, an area of 64 square kilometers have been cordoned off specially for this purpose to prevent the conflict between other predators like leopards and cheetahs, which will be reintroduced in Gandhi Sagar. Similarly, the deficit of prey at Gandhi Sagar has been an area of concern, and the steering committee has discussed the ongoing efforts of the authorities to augment the prey base through introduction of cheetal from other forests of Madhya Pradesh. Now, there is also a plan for in situ breeding of prey, that is cheetal, and there are herbivore enclosures at Gandhi Sagar so that these animals actually develop, they grow older and actually serve as a fodder for these cheetahs, right? So this is how ecology functions, but you understand you have to tweak the ecology a little bit if you're trying to introduce such a flagship species in an ecosystem. So this is the tweak that you would want to do. Now let's see if you are able to solve this question. This question actually is a very similar to the one that appeared in prelims of 2017. Recently, there was a proposal of to translocate some of the cheetahs from habitat in Kuno National Park to which of the following sites. So please let me know the correct answer. Sarang, Baga, you are right. Option D is correct. Well, meta population is the family of a particular species, right? So suppose I brought 20 cheetahs into a particular national park, Kuno National Park. But what if I want to increase the population? So I can't bring another cheetahs, right? So I have to introduce some of these already existing species in Kuno to other locations. So they set up their respective families. Just take it for an example, a joint family living under one roof. So actually when the population of that family increases, naturally they shift to other houses. So naturally they belong to one family, but they are living in different areas. So this is the meta family. Similarly, meta population of another species works. I hope that I've made that clear. Yes, two of you have gotten this right. Now let's see if you are able to solve this particular practice question that I have curated. With reference to Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary, consider the following statements. The sanctuary is located at the confluence of Chambal and Narmada rivers in Madhya Pradesh. It is known for its dry deciduous forest and is a home species such as leopards, cheetal and Indian gazelle. So let me know the correct answer to this practice question. Achal, Amar, Augustine, Sarang, Suraj, Baga, Shubham, D. Well, 2 is definitely right. Second is incorrect. I told you it is located in between of Chambal, not Narmada. Chambal is the river which drains this wildlife sanctuary and divides it into 2 parts. So therefore, first is incorrect, second one is right. Therefore, option B is the right answer. So Sarang, you've gotten this right. Shubham, please take a look at the question again, okay? Now let us move to another article. This appeared in the explain section of the newspaper and it was in page 14 today. It talks about a lawyer in the British colonial period, that is Sir Shankran Nair, and the story of him relating to Jallianwala Bagh case. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi recently recalled the contributions made by a nationalist and jurist known as Sir Chetur Shankran Nair, who fought a legendary courtroom battle against a senior official of the British Raj who had sued him, that is Sir Shankran, for holding him responsible for Jallianwala Bagh massacre in 1990. Now, Sir Nair will be a subject of an upcoming film starring Akshay Kumar, which will be called as Kesari Chapter 2, and this is an adaptation on a book written on the same figure that we are going to discuss today by their great grandson and his wife. So this is the context why we are discussing about this particular personality who was existing in the British colonial rule. Now let us understand some of the facts about Sir Chetur Shankran Nair. He was born in 1857 in an aristocratic family of Mankara village in Malabar's Palakkad district. Now, after Nair graduated from the Presidency College in Madras and he got a degree of law, he was hired by a jurist known as Sir Horatio Shepherd, who later became the Chief Justice of Madras High Court. Now, Nair, he came to be known for his uncompromising stances on any issue that he believed in, and to an extent he was so uncompromising that he did not care about the strength of the opposing side. For instance, there was this case when Sir Edwin Montagu, who was then Secretary of State to India, he actually complained about the attitude of Nair, that he was uncompromising on his stand and he did not even listen to other ones. So you understand this attitude, which made him so beloved by Indians, it actually earned ire of Britishers and made him unpopular even among his colleagues and peers. But you have to understand, this attitude paid rich dividend when it came to India's nationalist movement. Now, Nair himself, he was a lawyer of stellar capabilities. He was also a social reformer. And why am I saying this? He was a social reformer. I'll give you certain examples. One of his achievements was that in 1897, he became the youngest person to chair the Indian National Congress, and in 1908, he was appointed as the permanent judge in the Madras High Court. Now, as a judge in Madras High Court, he gave certain significant judgments, one of which was Budshana versus Fatima in 1914, where he ruled that a person who has converted to Hinduism would not be treated as an outcast, and few other cases that he upheld relating to intercaste marriages and interreligious marriages. So even in 1918, when India's society was somewhat backward, person like Sir Nair had a very socialistic approach and a very reformist approach, right? Now, his reformist approach meant that he cared for Indian society. He cared for bringing reforms in the Indian society. Also, what you have to understand is that in terms of politics, he believed in right to self-government. Now, you understand Swaraj, different forms of Swaraj, that is allowing Indians to participate in governing themselves, was one of the key demands of Indian National Congress and other movements in the Indian national movement. Now, in 1919, Government of India brought Government of India Act 1990, which provided for diarchy in provinces. What was diarchy in provinces? That is, some portion of the laws, they will be legislated by Governor General of a particular state in aid and advice to his office, and others will be judged and regulated and implemented by Indians themselves. So this was diarchy form of government, which was introduced in the provinces by GOI Act of 1919. Also, it increased participations of Indians in the administration themselves, and in this particular act, which was passed by British Parliament, this actually was one of the demands of Sir Shankran Nair. Following the massacre of Jallianwala Bagh in 1919, Sir Nair resigned from his post as a member of Viceroy's Council to protest against such massacre by the colonial government. Now, you understand, for this particular massacre, he held Michael O'Dwyer responsible, who was then the Lieutenant Governor of Punjab, and for this, the Michael O'Dwyer, he sued the Sir Nair in the court in England, which we'll understand. Also, in 1992, Sir Nair published a book known as Gandhi and Anarchy, a book in which he critiqued the policies of Mahatma Gandhi, be it his methods of non-violence or his movements like civil disobedience as well as non-cooperation. Similarly, let's get back to the controversy that is the subject of the article. Michael O'Dwyer, who was then the Lieutenant Governor of the province of Punjab, where the Jallianwala massacre happened, in his book, Sir Nair actually held Michael O'Dwyer responsible. So, based on this accusation of Sir Nair, Michael O'Dwyer sued him in a court in England, thinking that naturally the England justice system would side with an English citizen. Now, this trial before the King's Bench in London. It went for 5.5 weeks, which was then the longest running civil case in the time. Now you understand how long the cases go in courts these days. So at that time, 5.5 weeks of duration of the case was quite long. Now this 12-member all English jury, it sided with O'Dwyer by a majority of 11 against 1, and the only person that sided with Sir Nair was a famous Marxist historian or theorist known as Harold Lasky. So students of PSIR, if you have read about Harold Lasky, please let me know in the comments. Now, as the judgment was passed, Sir Nair was ordered to pay £500 and the expenses of the trial to the plaintiff. Now the plaintiff, Michael O'Dwyer, based on his largesse, he said that I will forego the penalty if Nair apologized for his accusation. But you understand, Sir Nair, he actually refused to do so. So you can understand he was so uncompromising that at that time £500 was a large amount of money, and he even refused to apologize just to let that money go. Understand? Now this trial, he had a resounding impact on the British Empire in India, because this trial actually made people aware, especially the moderates who were considering that British justice system is very just and it will indeed do justice with Indian people. But after this judgment was passed, people of India, they realized that British actually, they'll do everything to protect their own citizens, even at the cost of not delivering justice to Indians. So this actually made them aware that British colonial government, be it justice system, be it the government, be it its parliament, did not have the interests or best interests of Indian in mind, right? So if you remember this, now let's see, or let us move to different article. But first, let me deal with the issue at hand. Now you understand, this is just a part of modern Indian history. We deal with modern Indian history in detail in our foundation batches, where teachers actually teach you each and every part that is important from your prelims, from your mains, and also from your interview. And where to take admissions for these kind of classes, which are P2I foundation batches. Now you have to understand, the admissions for these batches will close today. That is the April evening batch. And please do not forget to take admissions. So to take admissions, what you have to do is to go to our website, and as you can see, admissions are closing on 15th of April. So is to take admissions, first create an account, click on Explore Courses. As soon as you click on Explore Courses, there will be a tile on the upper half of the screen which will tell you to opt for courses or the language of the course delivery. Now click on UPSC IS English, because I understand many of you are watching the video. You might not know Hindi that well, so as to get educated in it. So no problem. Click on this UPSC IS English tile. The first tile is for you to take admissions in the, sorry, give me a minute. Yes. So to take admissions in the foundation batches, what you have to do is click on buy now. Now before clicking on buy now, let me tell you, the course fees right now is available at a discount at 39,999. But I'll tell you a way where you can get discounts even on this amount. Now you must be watching a ticker on the bottom half of your screen that says use the code ATS Live to get maximum discounts, right? So click on buy now. Here you have an option to add promo code. As soon as you click on add promo code, on the left there is an option for you to enter coupon code. Type in ATS Live and click on apply. As soon as you write ATS Live and click on apply, see the discounts for 7,000 rupees is applicable, and the course fees for Diamond course, which has all the benefits of StudyIQ course, it is available at 32,999. Similarly, discounts are available for Platinum and Gold courses also, but in my opinion, the best one is Diamond course, and you'll get discounts only after you apply the code ATS Live, right? So let us move back to our discussion. I will upload the notes. So if you want to see the details of these courses, it will be available on my notes. Now let us move to another article. This article talks about US-Iran nuclear talks. Now this article appeared in the explain section yesterday and also in the world page on today, which is on page 12. Now, the context of this article is that Iran's foreign minister and a special envoy of United States government, Steve Witkoff, they have held an indirect talks in the city of Muscat on Saturday. Now, the objective of both of the governments is to reach a deal that ends US economic sanctions on Iran, and in return, Iran gives up its nuclear program, or at least goes slow on its nuclear enrichment program and eventually towards nuclear weaponization, because it is in US's best interest and also in the world's best interest, so that the Middle Eastern region remains without any nuclear weapon. Now, if one of the countries of Middle East, for instance Iran, they develop their own nuclear weapons, then it will give excuse to other countries in the region, more powerful one actually, Saudi or Turkey, to develop their own nuclear missiles and nuclear weapons, right? Now, just 3 months into Trump's second term, the US and Iran are actually talking for a deal. Many of people, they actually did not actually know about the fact that only in 3 months, both of these governments will actually be talking about the US nuclear deal. Now, Iran has economic reasons to sit on the table, but it is actually a long way to go before this deal actually becomes a reality. Now, let us understand quite quickly why actually is Iran opting for a nuclear deal with US. Now, to understand how a country reacts to any external pressure, what you have to understand first is its political structure. Now, Iran at the outset has a republican form of government. What is republican form of government? That there is a legislature which consists of representative elected by people, and the purpose of this legislature is to make laws, right? Now, to implement these laws, there is also an executive. And who is the executive in Iran? That is the president of Iran, who is directly elected by people, and the role of executive in this regard is to implement laws. Also, the executive is responsible for functioning of the economy. But you have to understand, Iran is not just another presidential form of government. Actually, in reality, it is a blend of presidential or a republican form of government and a theological form of government, because above the executive of Iran, there is this supreme authority known as supreme leader. Now, currently, the supreme leader is Ayatollah Khamenei, right? Now, the supreme leader of Iran, he is responsible for everything. He is responsible for overlooking the judiciary. He is responsible for the military affairs of Iran. For that, the supreme leader has Iran Revolutionary Guard Corps as its disposal. Also, most parts of the foreign policy, it is regulated by the office of supreme authority or the supreme leader, right? So, in essence, Iran is a theological state which is headed by a unelected official known as supreme leader. Now, this supreme leader or the Iranian state in general subscribe to the theology of which sect of Islam? That is Shia sect of Islam, which is in paper against the other sects of Islam like Sunni sects, right? Now, to have a very large regional impact on the foreign policy of existing region, Iran also funds several non-state actors of the region, popularly known as 3H. These are Houthis of Yemen, Hamas of Gaza Strip, as well as Hezbollah of Lebanon. Now, using these non-state actors, Iran actually combats its other rivals in the region, particularly Israel, which is a Jewish state, right? So, this is actually the political structure of Iran. It in essence is an autocratic structure which is headed by a supreme authority, and the supreme authority implements everything that is relating to the Shia sect of Islam, right? So, in essence, it is an autocratic structure. Now, for any autocratic structure to function successfully, it needs to control the political aspects of the society, social aspects of the society, and have a good economic growth. So first, any theocratic or any autocratic structure like Iran, like China, what they need is a political and social cohesion and have a decent level of economic growth and development. So for instance, China has had a very good theocratic and also an autocratic structure, and what has allowed this autocratic structure to function and not the demands of democracy to emerge is the ability of Chinese government to deliver solid economic growth for a longer part of the decades, right? But this is not true with Iran, because Iran, although in paper it has a theocratic as well as an autocratic structure, but its economy is suffering. And why is the economy of Iran suffering? Because of many sanctions that have been imposed by Western countries in general and US in particular. Now, this sanctions which have been imposed on Iran has actually led to high levels of inflation in Iranian economy, high levels of unemployment in the Iranian economy, which has created a lot of demands for better economic growth in Iran. Now, also, many existing generation of Iran, they actually have a very good attachment with the supreme authority of Iran, because they saw three formative events in the history of Iran. These were Islamic Revolution that happened in 1979, which changed the political structure of country from monarchy to theocracy. the Iran-Iraq war, in which actually Iran prevailed, and the only succession of a supreme leader that has happened. That earlier, after 1979 revolution, Ali Khamenei was the supreme leader of Iran, and it changed only once. That is, Ruhollah Khomeini became the supreme leader 10 years later in 1989. Now, Ruhollah Khomeini has been the supreme leader of Iran since 1989. So, this average Iranian who are somewhat older, they actually subscribe to this political structure because they see attachment to this structure. But what about younger generation? They've actually not that solidly attached with the political structure. And also when it comes to economy, the regime of the Iranian government, it is not able to give good economic growth, not able to provide jobs, not able to control the levels of inflation in the country. So this has created a political pressures on the this and that's of Iran so as to deliver solid economic growth. And what is the alternative that the Iranian government is now thinking? It is thinking, in some way, let us get out of this sanctions by signing a nuclear deal with US and agree to whatever US wants. So in essence, this is the matter. Now, what you have to understand that in recent times, the priority of Iranian government and the Iranian state is to do two things. First is to preserve the regime, that is continue with the theocratic structure and the autocratic structure, and reduction in the threats, particularly threats which is of economic in nature. Now, in recent times, the president of Iran has also changed. Earlier president who died in a helicopter crash was actually a very hardliner who subscribed in total to the views of supreme leader. Now, another person has been elected to the office who is somewhat moderate in nature. And you understand, when moderates come to power, they do not subscribe to hardline views. Rather, they think of finding a middle path. And what is the middle path of Iran right now? Is to bring foreign investment, to open the economy, and this will allow higher economic growth. It will allow higher employment levels and controlling the double-digit inflation which exists currently in Iran. Now, many Iranian leaders, particularly the moderates one, they are advocating for doing business with United States, just like the business they did earlier when US relaxed economic sanctions in signing for the deal which is known as JCPOA. Now, earlier deal was signed between Iran and many major parts of the world, that is P5, including China, Russia, US, France, and another country, and it also included Germany and P5 and the European Union, right? Now, the economic need for sanctions has helped Iranian reformists that are moderates in Iranian politics to pass for nuclear deal, whereas conservative politicians, they voice that we should go slow on such kind of a deal. Now, also in terms of foreign policy, Iran had a very dominant foreign policy which was given by Iranian government in aid and advice of the non-state actors in the region that I told you, 3H of the region. But you understand, there has happened a severe weakening of the Iran's axis of resistance, particularly due to attacks conducted by US as well as Israel. Now, also Iran's relation historically with other Sunni majority states like Saudi and UAE has been fractured, but in recent times they have become some amenable relations and they have become somewhat closer, and this has allowed even the rivals of the Iranian region to push US so to sign these deal and allow for peace to happen in the region, right? Also, what you have to understand, at the very core, the objective of the both US government and the Iranian government is to do one thing, that is to promote Iran's nuclear disarmament and therefore allow economic engagement of Iran with other nations. Now, Iran, it has consistently maintained, at least on paper, that nuclear weapons are theologically prohibited, and even the Ayatollah Khomeini has issued a fatwa against it. But that nuclear enrichment, according to Iran, is only a response to American aggression, and if America stops its hardline approach towards Iran, Iran will also go slow towards the nuclear enrichment. Now, Trump has a maximalist approach. What do you mean by maximalist approach? Trump has a tendency to issue threats and to issue big demands from other countries, bring them to negotiating table and then agree to whatever they are offering. So according to this policy, both of the government, they actually want one thing, and it is only a matter of time between now and then till the time nuclear deal is passed. Now let us understand, if and when such nuclear deal is passed, how it will impact India. You understand, this will impact positively on India, because earlier when economic sanctions were imposed on Iran, it prohibited Indian companies and Indian government to do business with Iranian entities, which meant India had to stop imports of crude oil from Iran. But after such nuclear deal happens and Iranian economy opens, India can actually resume the imports of Iran's oil and natural gas. Also, India had developed a port located in Iran known as Chabahar Port, which is actually a gateway to the markets of Iran and also to other Central Asian republics as well as Afghanistan. So once this economic sanctions are lifted on Iran, India can actually develop further this Chabahar port, and this will allow India to increase its bilateral trade with Iran. Iran is a very good importer of India's commodities like rice, like engineering goods, like automobiles. So Indian goods can actually be exported to Iran without any sanctions threat because of this relaxation of sanctions. Similarly, it will also help reduction in regional tensions, and India has a very good interest in reduction in regional tensions, because whenever regional tensions in Middle East increase, it leads to increase in prices of crude oil. And as India imports about 85% of crude oil from foreign markets, therefore price of crude oil is a very much interest to Indian economy. Similarly, there is a large portion of diaspora present in the Middle East, particularly in countries like Saudi, in UAE, in Oman. So to ensure well-being of these diaspora also, India wants these regions to have peace and prosperity and not engage in war and conflict, right? So this is how positively it will impact India's relations with Middle East and also particularly with Iran. Now let's see if you are able to solve this PYQ which appeared in 2015. Sarang has given his answer. Baga is yes. Option D is the right one. The deal which was signed between P5 nations, that is US, UK, Russia, China as well as France, plus European Union plus Germany on one side and Iran on another side. This nuclear deal officially is known as Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Now on 2015, a question appeared on the Beijing Plan of Action which is relating to women rights. So I have curated this question as against the earlier one just to ensure this is the official name of earlier nuclear deal that happened with these countries. Now when Trump came into power, he made sure to take US away from this JCPOA deal. That is why JCPOA deal is important from our UPSC's perspective, right? Now let us move to another article. This talks about a protected species known as Nilgiri Tahr. And why are we reading about Nilgiri Tahr? Because Kerala and Tamil Nadu government, they are going to conduct a joint census for estimating the populations of Nilgiri Tahr between April 24th and 27, right? So therefore, this is the context of this discussion. Now, in that regard, what becomes important from UPSC's perspective is this species known as Nilgiri Tahr. The image of the species, I've blurred it a little bit so as to make this font legible. This is the Nilgiri Tahr species. Now, this Nilgiri Tahr species is a mountain goat which is endemic to the regions of Western Ghats in India. Locally, it is known as Vareyadu, right, in Tamil and Malayalam. Now, in terms of habitat, this species actually prefers mountain grasslands, which in Nilgiri forest, these are known as Shola grasslands ecosystem. Now, this grassland are available at about altitude of 1200 to 2600 meters above sea level, and Ervikulam National Park has the highest density and the largest surviving population of Nilgiri Tahr, and Nilgiri Tahr also has the distinction of being the state animal of Tamil Nadu, right? Now, another important fact that it is the only mountain ungulate in southern India among the 12 species present in India. What is ungulate? It is a herbivorous hoofed mammal. For example, cow, sheep, horse, these are examples of hoofed animal. Now, it is the only mountain ungulate in the southern part of the country, and total there are 12 mountain ungulate species in India. Now, a grown-up male of Nilgiri Tahr species is known as saddleback due to the light colored patch on his back, and there are also a distinction that these species have horn rings. Now, the age of the species can be determined by counting the growth rings on its horns, similar to the ones you can count the age of a tree by counting the tree rings, right? Now, let me see the comment section. Yes. Now, Another important fact that you have to remember about any species that appears in news is its protection status. Now, in terms of IUCN Red List, it is called as endangered animal, whereas in terms of Wildlife Protection Act of 1962, it is considered as a Schedule 1 species, which means hunting and capturing of these animals are actually prohibited by law. Similarly, in CITES, it is categorized as a CITES 1 or a Appendix 1 species. Okay. Now let's see if you are able to solve this question. Now it is the only mountain ungulate found in India and is endemic to Western Ghats. Well, second part is correct, but it is not the only mountain ungulate found in India. It is only mountain ungulate found in southern India, right? Now its age can be determined by the number of foundlings, similar to the method used for dating trees, correct? It is listed as vulnerable in the IUCN Red List and is protected under Schedule 1 of the WP Act 1970. Now, I told you this is an endangered species, not a vulnerable species, right? So, third statement becomes incorrect. So, only second one is right. Therefore, option B is your right answers. Baga, Sarang, both of you are correct. Others, why aren't you giving the answers? I want all of you to participate in the class, right? Now let us move to another article. This one actually talks about President of India in Slovakia, because President of India, Srimati, she has visited the country of Slovakia in her official capacity. So therefore, Slovakia becomes important from our exams perspective. Now, Slovakia is a country located in the Eastern Europe, and this country borders these following countries: Poland, Czech Republic, Austria, Hungary, as well as Ukraine, right? So let us find more details about this country. Now, the Slovakia, it is a landlocked country located in Central Europe. Now, this country borders many countries: Poland, Ukraine, Hungary, Austria, and Czech Republic. Now, when Srimati Draupadi Murmu or any important government official visits any country, you have to understand naturally the geographical aspects of that country becomes important. So what you have to understand in solving or attempting any questions, first you have to have an idea of the map. In case, God forbid, if you don't have an idea of the map, try to eliminate the options, right? So please remember the bordering countries of Slovakia is PUHAC, right? So these are the bordering countries. Earlier, Slovakia was a part of Czechoslovakia until the Velvet Divorce, which happened in 1993. Now, presently, Slovakia is a member of European Union as well as NATO. So that is why this country becomes important. Now, for more important countries, usually the foreign minister or the prime minister visits those countries. But for somewhat lesser important countries, we see vice president, president of India, they visit these countries on official visit, so as to keep diplomatic contact between any two nations. Also, the topography of Slovakia, what you have to understand, that the northern part of Slovakia is dominated by Carpathian Mountains. The highest peak of located in Slovakia is High Tatras. Now, major rivers which drain Slovakia is Danube, Va, as well as Morava. So please remember these facts. Now let's see if you are able to solve this question. Now in 2023, a similar question appeared on mapping based on Ukraine, because you understand Ukraine has been in news because of Russia-Ukraine war. Similarly, I've curated this question. You have to understand which of the following countries share land borders with Slovakia. Students, answers. Well, I told you, HUPAC is the countries that are bordering Slovakia: Hungary, Ukraine, Poland, Austria, as well as Czech Republic. So, Romania isn't the right answer. Austria, Hungary, Poland, Ukraine are. So, option C, only 4 is your right answer. Now let's take up this last article because it's only 450. Now, this article actually appeared in yesterday's newspaper, but as the yesterday's newspaper were so filled with articles, so I was unable to take it yesterday. Now, European Space Agency will launch its biomass mission on April 29th on board the Vega rocket or Vega C rocket, sorry. Now, Biomass is a European Space Agency satellite or an Earth observation satellite which will allow it to map the world's forest to provide the very first comprehensive measurement of the existence of forest biomass at the global scale. Now, it will also find out how forests are changing and furthering our understanding about their role they play in the elongation of the carbon cycle. Now, this satellite, it will be placed on sun synchronous orbit, meaning that it will always appear in the same position relative to our star, that is at an altitude of around 666 kilometer, right? Now, what you have to understand, what will this particular mission do? Now, what you have to understand that all life on Earth, right from smallest of bacteria to the gigantic California redwoods, all of this is made of carbon. So as such, you can say carbon is the element that makes life possible on Earth. Now, you have to understand carbon does not appear on Earth from thin air, right? Carbon does not gain, or Earth in general in total terms does not gain or lose carbon. So what carbon does is that it only moves within atmosphere from different living organisms, that is it moves from us humans to soil, then it moves to tree, likewise, right? So that is why the availability of carbon on Earth is same, only its form or its presence in different organism it changes, right? So this change, or essentially this entire cycle, is known as carbon cycle, and forest is an essential part of this carbon cycle, because you have to understand forests, they store massive amounts of carbon. It is estimated that it stores around 16 billion metric tons of carbon every year, and in total it has the storage of 861 gigatons of carbon that is present in our soils and vegetation. Now, unfortunately, this is just an estimate. Why? Because data on forest biomass, that is the mass of organic matter of forest, it is severely lacking in global scale. Now, it also fundamentally limits our understanding of the state of forest and their impact of carbon cycle and climate. So, this limit is actually will be bridged by the existence of biomass mission, because it will estimate the amount of green biomass. Now, it will also allow scientists to more accurately measure how the distribution of carbon in planet is changing, how humans, when they cut down trees, they increase the emissions of CO2, because whatever CO2 that has been stored in trees, now when you cut those trees, it will be released into atmosphere, right? Similarly, in 2023 itself, Earth has lost 3.7 million hectares of tropical forest, which is equivalent of losing about 10 football fields worth of forest land every minute. So you understand the estimate of loss of forest. Now, this forest loss has produced roughly 6% of estimated emissions of carbon dioxide in 2023 itself. So in essence, you have to understand, when you cut down on forest, the carbon dioxide which had been stored in those trees, that will eventually be emitted into the Earth atmosphere, increasing the presence of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. And when the amount of greenhouse gas increase, you understand, it leads to the problem of global warming. Understand? Now, how or what will this biomass mission do? These are the objective. It will estimate above ground forest biomass, and it will provide detailed 3D forest structure maps, which will help us understand the role of forest in storing of carbon. Also, it will help the Earth improve its climate change prediction by using a more accurate biomass data, and it will also observe ice sheets movement in the Antarctica. So this is the additional thing that this biomass mission will do. Now, how will this biomass satellite estimate the amount of carbon dioxide or biomass? It will use synthetic aperture radar for mapping Earth's surface. Now, this radar will be fitted on a 12-meter antenna, and this is the first satellite ever to use a P-band synthetic aperture radar of a long wave radar. Now, longer wavelengths of any radar, it allows it to penetrate dense forest canopies, enabling it to detect biomass even from canopy to roots, right? Canopy is the outer foliage of the tree, right? Now, P-band SAR, it can see through dense foliage, and it can measure carbon stored on branches, trunks and ground biomass. So that is why, by estimating the presence of biomass not just from canopy but also from roots, it can estimate the total amount of carbon that is stored. So when you estimate, or when you have a fair idea, you can understand the emissions of carbon dioxide that can happen in case you cut down on trees, right? So what is the all the countries in the world, earth demanding, that is to reduce the amount of greenhouse gas emission. So not just we have to reduce the amount of greenhouse gas emissions from our industries and other economic processes, but we have to also ensure that the amount of trees are not cut down, because they are also the very large storage when it comes to these greenhouse gases, especially carbon dioxide, right? Now, Biomass satellite of the European Space Agency, it is only a 7th mission under Earth's Explorer program. Earth's Explorer program of European Space Agency, it consists of a series of satellites that share a common goal, that is of advancing Earth sciences by helping answer principal scientific questions through observations of Earth key systems. What are these key systems? I've attached a particular image that I've taken from the ESA's website. Please take a look at these images. This actually tells you the amount of things that will be assessed by the Earth Explorer program of ESA, right? Now let's see if you are able to solve this last question. Baga, Sarang, Aryan, Amar, Shubham, Achal. Achal has been quiet today. Suraj has been quiet today. Amar has been quiet today, not in terms of normal chit chat, but in terms of answering. Sarang says option D. Option D क्या है दिखा तुम्हें? This is option D. Well, Biomass satellite is the first satellite mission to use P-band synthetic aperture radar to study Earth biomass. This one is correct. One of the objectives is to monitor ice sheet movement of Arctic region to assess sea level rise. Now, this is incorrect because it assesses Antarctic region, right? Not Arctic region. Biomass is a part of ESA's Earth's Explorer program. This one is correct. So first and third is correct. Second one is not. Therefore, option B here is the right answer. Baga Sphinx, not Arctic region but Antarctic region. Okay. Now, the notes for this session will be available on my Telegram channel. This is the Telegram channel, and this is all from my side for today. I will see you again tomorrow sharp at 4 p.m. So do not forget to log in, and also do not forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you still haven't, right? So I'll see you again. Please have a very pleasant evening and a very good night.